In this lesson, we're going to create the rudder. But before we do that, I've realized that I've got to cut some edges here in the elevator to make it sharper. So we'll go there. Now it's much, much sharper, and that's going to work well. The other thing I noticed is that this tail edge is a little bit thin. So I'm going to start to pull this out like so. Give it a little bit more thickness. And I will grab this edge and raise it up as well. Okay, so now to do the way we're going to do this to start is we're going to make the pinholes for the rudder. And to do that, it's real simple. We'll do this with our multi-cut tool. And I'm basically going to cut a thin slot. Keep in mind, it may look thin, but in fact, it's going to be twice this thickness once we mirror the halves of our hit return to. Once we mirror the halves of our fuselage, it's going to be twice the thickness. So you always want to keep that in mind. All right, so we'll go to the top there. And then what I'm going to do is I'll go to face, like so, and extrude this back. Click it there, and pull this back. Probably about right there should do it. Now, it's going to be really important when you do that to make sure you go back in and delete these faces, these internal faces. They will cause you all kinds of trouble, no end of trouble. I'm going to go back to this. I'll go ahead and extrude this first, and then I'll set my offset. I'll shrink my offset quite a bit, or I'll make a very small offset, and then go here and delete. I can go with these edges here. I'll double click and absolute transform these to 0. There. All right, so now all I have to do is I can fence in these edges by hand. Do the same thing up top here. And right there. So now that's really sharp. We did it really fast. So we've got a full pinhole right there. We'll do the same thing down below. We'll start here. Click there and there. Hit return and pull these in like so. And create another like so. Go to face, extrude, pull it back, and this time I'm going to pull it back to about the same distance as I did the top pin, and delete these faces like so. Extrude again, and offset this down about the same amount, and then delete these faces along the inside edge. Go to edge here and here, and 0 them out. Now we can use the multi-cut tool. We can actually use the multi-cut tool to do this. So what I'll do is I'll grab these faces here and do the same thing for the top. Work quickly. Actually, I don't need to do the same thing for the top because we've already fenced these off. So pull these back. And now I'm going to press Shift period twice and use the multi-cut tool with the Shift key held down to drag right across like so and like so. And that's created the fence there. Now I can use the multi-cut tool. Go ahead and select this and use the multi-cut tool to fence that edge and this edge. And last but not least, this edge. So now we've got our pinholes all squared away and ready to go for the next part, which is going to be the rudder. All right, so I'm going to bring back my drawing, and I'm going to go to my top view, I think. Now I'll go to right view. We'll just have two right views up there for now. And I'm going to create a plane. Actually, I'll make this perspective view. And there's my plane, which we need to go to object mode. Pull this back like so. We'll rotate this up to -90 and move it up. I'm going to hit F to fit this into my view. Go to X-ray. Now, when you can, it's a good idea, whenever possible, to use your width and your depth commands to make this work. To start with initially. Just kind of rough it into shape. I think we'll just use 4 for this, just to get a rough shape going. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and use my target weld, or try to. I think it's because it's right on top of these two. So instead, I can grab these two and use my merge. This is the old merge vertex command, so it's a good thing. Okay. These we can move in. Move this down there. I'll go ahead and pull these down like so. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating room to make another edge going around here, around the outside of the tail. We'll just keep this a simple edge loop. Alrighty, and you can actually work in smooth mode if you so choose. It's not a bad way to go. Alrighty, so that's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'll use my cut vertices, or my multi-cut tool, and I'm going to create a line. I'm not going to worry about this shape, or about this line of edges here. I'm going to handle that with my extrusion, but I will cut there, like so, and then I'll do another one here, and here, and then one more for this inside edge, like so. I may need to get rid of those. I really don't have to worry about this line of edges, but I do, because this is where I'm going to be putting my, click there and double click here. This is where I'm going to be putting my, great, didn't work. Went the other way. This is where I'm going to be putting, I'm basically going to be putting these edges. This is going to be handled by the extrusion. So I can go to there, and then, not extrusion. Yeah, well, it will be an extrusion. This particular outside edge, I'm going to wind up basically extruding these edges forward or back to the center line, and I'll expand them out then. So that's what that's going to be. I'll pull that in like so. All right, so now we've got edges here and here, and what I'm going to do next is I'm then going to go to my top view. And I'll pull these out like so. I'll rotate these. Okay, when I get them to be about the right in the right location, I'm going to move, select the plane, and I see that my center line is, my pivot point's already on the center line, so I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to, actually, let me delete that, grab it again in object mode. I'm going to freeze my transformations. I'm going to duplicate it and scale it to -1 in X. Take off my X-ray. And let me make sure that yep, they're both facing the same way, which is good. So I'll grab this and combine. Now I will grab my edges. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just double click here, and bridge. And I'll add one division. This I'll push out a little bit like so. What I should see is this about right where we need it. Nope, too far. All right. Select it, and then I'll assign the existing Lambert 1 material. And I can see it's a little bit thick. Now the reason why I did the bridging was basically just to create this edge. Now I'm going to delete that. I'm just basically going to delete my that half of my rudder. All right, so what we did in this lesson is we began the rudder and we worked on matching up edges as best we can. In the next lesson, we will create pins, or we'll actually duplicate the holes that are in the body and use them as pins for the rudder. And we'll also shape our rudder so that it looks a little bit better than this.